So I just watched a Alex Hormozi video that I found quite inspiring, and it's inspired me to record this video, which is about people and their standards. And I think upon watching that video, there's echoes and aspects of my life where his message applies to me, and I want to record this to help spread that message. I think that the message is pretty straightforward. It's not something that's particularly new, but when you hear something from someone that you really respect, it hits home in a different way. So the message is most people don't succeed because they don't work enough on their product. They have low standards and a really low bar for what success in their niche and their product looks like. And it's sometimes because you've never been exposed to what an actual standard is. So part of that video is about opening up your eyes to what the expectation is to be successful in anything that you do. And that's actually so incredibly true that makes it so damn important to really recalibrate and reset what's required to be successful in anything that you do because there's just so many layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of excuses and limited thinking and being satisfied with the minimal or intermittent effort that you put in that stops people from putting in really hard work consistently over time, but with the level of intention to continuously improve that which you're working on. And the crazy thing is, and it's so true that it's not that difficult to be better than other people. It really isn't. And I've got a really good insight into that just by virtue, and this is the crazy thing, just by virtue of being a seven-figure agency owner who has managed to sustain that over a couple of years. And I look back on the things that I'm doing, and I'm still really peeling back the layers of the onion, as they call it, in terms of the level of work ethic that I could actually put in. But what I see happens with the team, just practical examples of it all the time. I will have people that will say, okay, great. I will watch one motivational video. I will watch one instructional tutorial, and that will be enough to top up my cup of knowledge, my reservoir of motivation to get the result that I expect. And then you want a reward from it. It's fucking crazy. The amount of people that as soon as they hear the company is doing well or things are growing slightly, the amount of pay rise requests that I get in for people that haven't really put in any level of unexpected work whatsoever. From day one to day 60, of course I expect you to improve slightly. It's your first 60 days at the company. It's your first 90 days, your first 180 days. And people want to get rewarded for something that was really part of their job description, to be rewarded for having learnt the onboarding materials and to get a little bit better at managing calls because it's your first time getting on calls for the company. These are all expected parts of your development, but no one's willing to put in the after hours, off the clock work in a sustained way. You're not really exploring the full depths of, for example, YouTube. You're not really translating that into inspired action and activity on a daily basis. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been a victim of this as well. A victim of the it's good enough mentality. And this is one of the biggest problems. Grant Cardone talked about this in the 10x rule, I believe. But in any event, Grant Cardone has spoken about this in some of the books that he's written, that the thing that you should fear most is mediocrity, when you're just comfortable enough to be okay with the outcomes that you're getting in life, that you've got a soft pillow to go to bed on at night, that you've got your food taken care of, maybe you live at home with your folks, maybe you've got a job that's covering the rent, maybe it's allowing you to have some savings, and you get complacent, you get comfortable, and then time goes by and you don't end up where you expected because of your shitty standards. And that's just such an incredible problem. I've seen it with my marathon running career. Can you believe that I've been doing marathons for 15 years and I've not improved my marathon race time over the last decade? I've got 3:38. It's shitty. It's crazy. And why is it that I expect a better return on investment when I've not put in any? I've been doing the same work. I've reached a baseline or I've reached a certain minimum level of competency and I expect to get a reward from it. What actually has happened is that I've got comfortable with instead taking a volume-based approach to my marathon running and never thinking that, well, hey, why don't you just run one marathon and do it under 3 hours? And anyone who understands marathon running will really respect the fact that you did a sub 3 hour marathon. I'm guilty of this, by the way, in so many areas of my life. It's just as much as I'm frustrated with people, I'm really frustrated with myself, and I'm really frustrated with myself because there's just so many areas where I am guilty of poor standards. So marathon running is absolutely one of them. I have been running, as I said, since I was probably 22, 23, and I think I got my best marathon time when I was maybe 25. I'm 37 now. It's been 12 years and I've not improved. It's been 12 years and I've not got any better at the art of running. So why does this volume, the volume thing is useful to the uninformed? The people that know, the people that matter, know that 3:38 is such a crappy time given you've done 30, I've done like 35, 40 marathons. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. But I'm saying it to you because it's a bit of a war cry that don't do the same thing. Be the guy who gets a sub 3 hour marathon your first time, your second time. And that's like such a transformation I'm going under or going through at the moment that I have not been prepared to put in the work. And therefore, I have got really mediocre, nigh on shitty results if you take it for anyone who's even semi-decent, halfway amateur, and that is something that's got to change. And if you're someone who's similarly doing the same thing, then I implore you that you're never going to get the results you want in your life if you're not prepared to make the intentional changes with your approach to the things that you do with your time. A second area that I'm seeing that is that I've not until very, very recently, and that's part of the reason why I began making these videos, I've not opened up my team's mind to the level of work and the reasons why they should do that work to get the results that we're looking for. To go from being a 1 to 1.3 million, 1.5 million to a $5 million agency. We're not putting in the work. I say we're not putting in the work. I've not done the right work to recruit the best people, to retain the best people, to really spend the time to work hard on delivery. This was one of the other things that was spoken about. If I look at the constraints of my business, we don't have a lead problem. We don't have a lead and sales problem. We have a retention problem because I want to get the retention higher and higher and higher than where it currently is. And what's been crazy, and our retention isn't bad, by the way, and we do make our clients happy, but why do I have low standards? Why don't I want to double the retention that we have in the business? Because different businesses have different constraints. And to do that, why don't you, if you're watching, make a sustained effort to focus on the delivery side, to improve every single aspect until your brain hurts, and then you go again, and then you go again to improve the quality of ultimately the actual delivery of the service. And again, the consistent theme across all of these areas is hard fucking work, but in respect of the benchmarks. And that's the thing that I think that people don't get enough exposure to. Benchmarks, or when you do, you shy away from it because you're scared. You're emotionally not ready to understand that you think you're here because you build yourself up in your own mind. You surround yourself with people that congratulate you, but really you're fucking down here. My marathon running in my own irrational mind, I built it up to be there, but really it's down there. So everything that I've done up until now, at age 37, I have really half-assed my approach. I've not approached with intensity. I've not approached with fierceness, and it limits me. It doesn't limit anyone else. I place constraints upon my own ability to be successful because I haven't been prepared to put in the requisite amount of hard work to get the results I want in my life. Not at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Have a look through my YouTube history. When was the first ever time that you've seen me produce content on a basis that's more than 10 minutes per piece on a daily? It's now. It's now. But if you dig back through the annals and archives of my history, I've got content that exists that's over 10 years old. What have you been doing with your time, man? You've been floating. And this is what sometimes tends to happen. We've got a certain level of ability, and this is the danger about accepting mediocrity. You've got a certain level of ability, a baseline level of ability that's good enough to get you a particular result. And then as a consequence, you get comfortable with that result and fumble around a little bit at that stage, and you start making such small incremental, and these would be the expected progress, the expected growth over time, that actually, as has happened in my case, 3 years have passed and we haven't grown. There's been COVID, and then we had to this happen, and then that happened, and then I diversified, and all of this kind of stuff. It's just excuses. And this is coming from someone, by the way. We are multiple seven figures over the years. I do have multiple businesses running in parallel, but it doesn't mean anything. In context of where I need to go, it's all a distraction. I'm not putting in the right work in the right places because my benchmarks and my standards are all wrong. Let's see if I can fix this Zoom. See, hopefully it will come. My standards are just not there. And we have shitty standards because the true standard makes us uncomfortable because the level of work that's required is so far and away from the level of work that we're putting in. It can be 10x, 100x, that we're just not prepared. And the gap that develops over time is just incredible. So one way to different and things really changed for me during COVID. Okay. During COVID, I got into watching Jocko Willink and looked at his approach, and he had something called the 4:30. I don't know if it was the 4:30 a.m. club. He was waking up at 4:30 every day, and I began waking up at 4:30, and it changed everything. Why? Because it gave me back hours in my day to help develop myself, and that gave me hours of opportunity to build additional insight into my mind. And the hours that I have gained as a consequence of doing that during COVID, I would have been about maybe 33, 34, have started to lead to phenomenal changes within my business. And part of that journey is even now, and understanding that, Deepak, you're not putting in the level of work, you're not putting in the right work, you are awake at the right times, but you kind of fanny about. Why aren't you producing this level of content? Why aren't you producing or the right level of work to get the results that you're looking for? Why are things stagnating? You've got to learn from your lessons. And the truth is that you've got to understand, again, the benchmarks that you can reference to get to where you need to go. So look at your competition. Thoroughly analyze your competition. Look at all of their posts. Call them, understand what their sales pitch is like, pay them, engage with their training, get a consultant in, spend the hours to achieve the quantum level jumps within your life, within your business. Now that I've got a running coach, I'm running better than ever before. And the key was getting a running coach. So why don't I then try and replicate that again across every aspect of my life? Why don't I try and do that? Let me just see what kind of result I can produce. So that could be another area that I could look into. So there's just the continuous attack to improve every single aspect of your life is hard, and it requires much, much, much harder work than you think to get the outsized return that you might be looking for. And again, if you're not looking for an outsized return, then probably this video won't hit home. But if you're looking to have an amazing relationship, if you're looking to have an amazing business outcome, are you reading the books? Are you putting the work in from the books that you're reading? What benchmarks are you looking at? Who are you really analyzing? And then what are you doing in reference of that benchmark in terms of autopsying the work that you actually do? Not what you think you do, because it's always filled with this irrational, emotional side, but the work that you actually do. Do you actually wake up at 4:30 a.m. every day? Do you actually put in the study every single day? Are you actually looking to improve multiple aspects of the way that you deliver your services every day? Are you actually ensuring that you're recruiting the highest caliber people into your company every day? Are you actually continuously looking to innovate every single day? Are you actually analyzing and observing the people that are achieving at 10 times the result that you are? And are you implementing those areas in your life? Because if you're actually doing those things, you'll begin to see the requisite result. And if you're not, it means that you're just not digging in hard enough. And most of your, and this is what Hormozi talks about, most of your competition aren't prepared to do that. So learning the discipline of having proper benchmarks, of thoroughly analyzing and examining those benchmarks, and then running a real unemotional, okay, and this is the part that's challenging. You need to be unemotional, you need to be clinical in the way that you approach what you're doing. And sometimes that's why you need an external person to come in to look under the hood and say, what the fuck is in here? This is not good. You should be there in relation to your ability, and most of us have that, or some of us at least have that level of ability, but instead you're down here. You're playing small. And that is what inspired me to record this video today, because that is what I need to do to take my business, my team, and what we do to the next level. And the laissez-faire, the spirit of the time, the sense of the moment right now, it's creating that within myself as well, right? Creating that necessary mindset shift to get you the results that you're looking for. That's how I'll train 6 days a week for my ultra marathon running. That's how today I'll go out and do a 1 hour run. At the weekend, I'll be doing 2 hour runs. I'm building all of the prep to do ultimately a 200-mile run. One day I hope to do a 250 plus mile run. And the level of preparation and work required is significant. And I can half-ass it, or I can choose to try and do my best to be like some of the elite people are, but I'm resetting my benchmarks. I'm resetting my sense of what's possible. I need to go from a 3:38 marathon to eventually a sub-3 marathon. So I need to start on that journey. I booked a marathon in. I'm talking to my running coach about it. In terms of my business, I need to improve the quality of the team aggressively. And the way that I actually improve the quality of my team is to open their minds to the power of developing their standards, developing their work ethic, developing fundamentally their whole sense of what's possible. And then correspondingly, I'm hoping to see a hockey stick growth in my team in terms of the return on investment, in terms of the work and their attitude and their ethos and their approach and the discoveries and the learnings, alongside improving the quality of the way that we recruit and increasing the difficulty of the manner of our recruitment. So enabling and activating all of these things will make the huge change within my business. And it comes from having shitty standards. So improve your standards, increase your will to win, combine the two, and get prepared to have uncomfortable conversations. And the results that you can get could be dramatic. And I say this as a kind of war cry, because we can be better. We can do so much better. We're not doing badly, but we could be doing so much better. And that means if you're watching this, and if you're not even at least to my standard, then you could be doing so much better as well. So get out there and get after it.